Sorry. I was DNA airport today.
It was really a lot of traffic, and yeah, the lady was like trying to tell me where to pull, and I was like trying to pull over there and go the speed limit, and she was like rushing me, and I was like, not cool. And Leo's like, she's trying to be nice. I was like, did you see her face? She's not being nice.
Hey, we all have that face. You know, again. Turn your monitor levels down. Click the two little people down at the bottom.
Oh,
You can just slide mine all the way down.
cool.
I got a housing and a hippie joke for you.
Oh.
It's got a fitting for you.
Okay, great.
How do you tell if a hippie has been to your house?
Oh God, I mean, a number of ways.
Just one surefire way. How do you tell if a hippie's been to your house?
The back door's open.
No, he's still there. See? You said I don't get these jokes. I gotcha.
That was the answer?
That was the answer. He's still there. Hey guys, Aaron Cochran, by Tennessee Dirt Team Lead. I'm here with Jordan Mitchell. She's our resident hippie, and we can't seem to get rid of her. I don't think that we want to, but nonetheless, awesome real estate agent here on our team. And today we want to come on and talk about debunking some myths. Debunking some myths. It gets the mouth moving.
Yeah, that's a lot.
About listing your Tennessee home for sale. I think it's interesting the amount of what we call them FSBOs in the industry, for sale by owners, about listing their home, the do's and the don'ts, and even what some bad real estate agents do. I hate to use that term, but they exist.
Yeah, they exist. I mean, in the industry, like they can't all be good.
No, they're not all the Jordan Mitchells of the world.
As actually, I would probably say.
Yeah. So, Jordan, what are some of the things that you see the faux pas? Don't ask me to spell it. The faux pas of listing a home. Like, what are mistakes that you see people make, both inexperienced or lazy agents, or people that are listing their home for sale on their own? What are some mistakes that you see they make?
So, not getting professional photos is a huge one.
But I have an iPhone. It takes really good photos.
No.
I take pictures of my kids all the time.
I don't care. So there's an art to it. Like, it's not just about the photo and the quality of the photo, which does matter, but it's also like the way that you take the photo. So lighting and where you're standing and the view and the angle and, making sure that it flows together where people can look through the photos and it's easy for them to see, like, okay, this is where you enter the room. This is where, my outlets are, my light switches, seeing the ceiling, like if there's a tray ceiling or, a high ceiling, a slope ceiling, any of that. It's really important. And so that's why you hire the professionals, because they know what they're doing.
I hate it when agents pay for enhanced photos. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I call them the catfish photos that you see on MLS or on Zillow and things like that.
The ones that I really like I really like the ones that like show the house, like what it would look like at like sundown, like whenever the sun's setting.
Photos, yeah.
Like, I do like those, but whenever you have photos taken and you look at the pictures on MLS and then you actually go see the house and it looks totally different, yeah, that's a problem.
And I tell my clients I hate it when people do that. You know why? Because we get really excited about the house, so this is it, and I've become really good at spotting a catfish home.
Yeah.
On Realtor.com or on our MLS, and I want you to have the same energy when you walk into my listings.
Right.
Like, I want you to fall in love with it and just validate how much you love it when you walk in. I don't need your fisheye lens.
Right. Yeah. I think another thing is Yeah, I mean, that just kinda goes back to the point of you saying, like, I have an iPhone and, like, I take pictures of my kids, like, I'm a photographer, and again, like, it's just different. So, if you think that you can be fancy and you know what you're doing and you're gonna do some cool stuff, and, like, maybe you think that's cool, but the point of it is to have a product that everyone likes, not just a couple people, you know? Like, it's not just
I need an
you.
accurate representation of the home.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that you can decide if you like it or not and wanna go see it, and you're not surprised when you walk in.
We should start a video series about the. You ever seen like the memes online on like Instagram or something like that, and it's like your realtor's business card, and then your realtor in person, and it's like
Oh, yeah.
you're like, oh, that's not what I'm getting. We
Right.
should do that with the listing photos and be like, hey, check out the listing photo, and then let's get there and be like, oh,
Yeah, I mean, sometimes even I don't know, another thing is just, like, before you take the photos and before you list the house, like, just cleaning it up.
you
Um,
know what my biggest pet peeve is?
what?
Open toilet seats.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Shut the toilet
toilets
seat.
take such a big hit too. I mean,
It's
some of them are just
devastating.
struggling. But I don't know. I've seen so many, and I mean, you have to know how to talk to people and how to be straightforward and like tell them like, okay, this is something that you need to clean up. And like what we did whenever I mean, we had an agent, obviously, whenever we sold our house in Colorado. Um, we knew we were moving, so we cleaned out all of the additional clutter and we packed it up or we got rid of it. And whenever we packed it up, I say like we put stuff in totes and boxes, and it was in the garage, which is kind of like what a garage is used for a lot of people is storage. So you're not paying for a storage unit, and it was out of the way. And then we left it that way. So we didn't do it just for photos and then, like, start, and I mean, obviously, people know that you live there. So, like, yes, my couch had dog hair on it, like, big deal, but it didn't smell like animals. There wasn't a whole lot of personal effects. So, like, people wanna be able to come in and see themselves in the house, or themselves, I don't know. Anyways, um
No, and I agree. I think garage is a safe zone. I try to tell all my clients the same thing. It's like, oh, just put it in the garage. Don't
Yeah.
cram it in a closet because people want to see like
They're gonna
what type
open
of
the
storage you
closet
have.
doors, yeah, and I mean, they can look in the closet, it's not like, I don't want your garage to look like a hoarder, and, like, no offense to hoarders, I understand, like, that's a problem, but also
Be offended,
not
hoarders.
good. So, like, I didn't have photos taken of the garage on my last listing because I knew that they were, working on it and that there was stuff in the garage, and I'd like for it to be, somewhat organized, especially for your sake if you're needing to find things because you're still living there. But just a general, like you would be surprised. Probably not you, but a lot of people would be surprised to see the way that people live. And
Yeah,
so you can't just, even if you're like, yes, I'm going to sell my house myself, you cannot just like leave everything the way that it is. Like, yeah, maybe it'll sell, but there are ways to set yourself apart and to make sure that people are attracted to your home. And it looking like a complete nightmare is not one of them.
you ever walk into a listing with a buyer and just smell the cat box as soon as you walk in the door?
Oh, yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I'm so offended just walking in here. I don't even necessarily like the house.
Yeah, it smells is a huge thing. Like that's a really large turn off. You
Both
know,
directions, though. Don't have offensive smells, but don't light every candle in the house
yeah.
because what are you trying to cover?
Yeah, and that gives me a migraine. Like, and the other day, I showed someone a house and I went in and I was like opening everything up and turning the lights on. Um, and it was like out in the middle of nowhere and I had to use the restroom. Well, that taught me a lesson. When you go and look at a house, you need to make sure that you flush the toilet and see if there's a smell. 'Cause sometimes there is.
Yeah.
So, I
That's
mean,
another toilet rule come when looking at houses. You always check the water. Turn the faucet on first,
yes,
and leave the
yeah.
water in the tank.
See if it, like, how quickly it, like, fills up. Like, I've done open houses where I had to go and then, another agent had to go or something like that, and I'm, like, sitting there waiting on the thing to fill back up because it's so slow. So, like, yeah, that's another thing. If you're gonna list your house, like, make sure that everything is functioning. Make sure that all of your light bulbs work, that all of them
Oh my gosh, I
match.
hate that.
Um, even, like, if you're going to be showing to people that are not necessarily represented, especially, like, if you're selling it yourself and you're just telling all your friends about it and they're telling their friends and so on and so forth, um, making it, like, easily known, like, how you control each thing. Like, the last thing you want is someone standing there for 20 minutes trying to turn on the light or see if the fan works. Making sure that whenever you know that there's a showing coming and it's somebody that's not represented, that you have things open and light, windows open, things like that. And I mean, that's another thing for photos. Like, that's why you get professional photos, because they know those things. Like, you get what you pay for in life, really, in general.
Yeah. Well, and that's the big thing. Like, I can understand if the house is vacant. Like, turn the lights on. The agent will have to turn the lights on, stuff like that. But if you're living there and you're literally leaving and a showing's coming in, make sure your house is presentable. Turn all the lights on, open the blinds, make it look the way you want it to look.
Yeah.
So you want people to come in and make it easy for people to buy. Make it easy for people to experience your home and not walk into that dark environment. What Motel 6 used to leave the light on for you.
Yeah.
Like, Motel 6 can do it. You can do it, right?
Yeah. I mean, even just like, say that you just had dinner. Like, get the dishes rinsed and put in the dishwasher. Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh my God, everything in the world is just completely done all the time because you are living there. But you do need to make sure that visible things are, that's a big thing. Is I showed a house not too long ago, and it was really nice. Like, it was one that they had came in and completely updated everything.
Mm-hmm.
But when you looked a little closer, like, okay, everything looked really nice at first glance. And then when you started opening things, like, there were drawers painted shut, and
Mm-hmm.
the
I
closets on the
remember you telling me about
inside
that
were
house.
original wood paneling and they just painted over it. And, like, the buyer was super concerned because she's like, I don't like bugs. I mean, I don't really know who likes bugs. I mean, in their house, like, I don't think anybody would want that, but maybe. And there's, like, slats, where she's like, I don't know what can fit through there. And I'm like, I want to be honest with you. I feel the same way. We're on the same page here. Like,
I went to a house once that had a beehive in the wall and they didn't know it.
could they not hear that?
Well, we were standing outside and there was a stucco home, and I was watching the bees fly in behind a trim piece, and I was like, "There's a lot of bees that went in that since we've been standing here." So I go inside and I listen to the wall, and I'm like, "The wall is buzzing." So I called the listing agent and I was like, "Heads up!" And the funny, it was the listing agent. It was their home, like, and they didn't even know.
Oh my goodness
And
gracious.
it wasn't a low price point like this. We're talking
Yeah.
650, 700K.
Yeah. And another thing is, your yard. Your yard matters.
You mean mow the lawn?
Yeah. Spray the weeds. Um, you know, if everything is scattered everywhere, you trim the bushes.
Are you telling me that when I don't have to just get it looking right for the photos and just leave it and
No,
let the weeds grow up because it's been on market for 90 days because I'm
no,
not marketing my home correctly?
no. It needs to be maintained. That is a mistake that I see a lot. Obviously, my husband's a landscaper. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he has to go a lot of times on weekends for people that have investment properties. And, if they decide to sell one of them and they're having open houses on Saturday and Sunday, multiple weeks, then he's got to go over there and make sure on his schedule that he has the time to get those looking right, for especially for the open houses, but also just to keep that maintenance. And it's not like, you don't have to do anything crazy. It's really not super expensive. And most people can do it themselves if they're able, like physically. Um, and, so I'm not trying to say like, hey, you have to hire somebody and do a whole new landscape, but things need to be safe in and around your house and they need to be presentable. And that includes, um, sometimes your house needs to be power washed.
My house needs to be power washed right now.
And
I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it's a pain, it's one of those things, and then just making sure that it doesn't look like you haven't done anything. Like everything is grown up. And I mean, even if the yard is a couple days past mowing, it's not going to be the end of the world, but making sure that people can see that like there's potential. It's not like you've just let it go for the whole year. What did you say?
I said getting it prepped before the weekend. Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
If the house is vacant, especially,
Yes.
go walk through the house, wipe the kitchen counters off, wipe the bathroom counters off, and just run the mower over the yard.
Yeah. And that's the thing is whenever you're an agent or, realtor and you have listings that maybe somebody moved out of state and you're local to it or you're, an hour or two away from it, whatever. That's what you want whenever you hire an agent is somebody who's willing to go the extra mile. So like I had my listing, I still have my listing and thankfully it's in the same neighborhood as my kid's babysitter. It makes it easy. But I go by there. And I talked to my husband the other day and I was like, I need you to go by and get it mowed. So like obviously your friends and family become people that are helping you take care of these things. But when you go in and you see that something needs to be done, like people have been going in and out of the back door and there are leaves on the floor, they need to be picked up. And, that's why you're hiring somebody to take care of these things. So I'm not going to say like, it's a mistake to try to sell your house yourself because people do it. People have done it. Like my mom sold her house herself. It took a long time, and I had to promote it back. This was years ago, probably more than 10 years ago. But it 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 definitely is going to take longer. So if you're doing it by yourself, you need to make sure that you do all of the right things and check all the boxes. If you don't have somebody advising you.
Especially if you have somebody come into the house that doesn't have an agent. Like, are you just gonna let anybody go into the house?
Yeah, it's
Are you just handing out your lockbox code that you put on there as a for sale by owner and just letting people show up and go into the house?
yeah, it's pretty risky, honestly, in my opinion. So,
I mean, I would always want representation, and if there was somebody that came by that didn't have representation, I would hope that my listing agent would go by and show the home for me.
right. Yes. Yeah. And that just goes back to what you're paying for,
Yeah.
somebody who's willing to go the extra mile to make sure that you look well represented as well as your home is taken proper care of.
Well, and so like even let's talk about MLS. When you put your house on MLS and you're disclosing things like for sale by owners, a lot of times they don't disclose stuff. Like you can get in a really bad lawsuit for not disclosing stuff when selling a home, if you're a professional or not.
Yeah. Yeah. You get into legality, and that's something obviously that we have to learn all the rules and regulations. And when you don't know those things, yeah, I mean, you can get sued.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, let's just think of it this way: could you go? Could I go find somebody in the Walmart parking lot to pull my tooth? I'm probably gonna hire a dentist.
Maybe. I mean,
I
not
want somebody that
me.
does
I'm
this
not going to do
for a
it.
living. And tell the home I gotta check and find somebody to pull my tooth in a Walmart parking lot.
I mean, it's probably going to just depend on how much you're paying.
Yeah, true story. True story. $20.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like when we post on MLS, like it's different than somebody going in here and just posting on Zillow. Like we go out, it's a multiple listing service, so it goes. We have the ability to select boxes in there that'll allow third-party sites to pick it up.
Right.
Even like buytennesseedirt.com, we pick that information up off of the MLS, and it displays on our website. So you can search homes through our website, just like you can through Zillow or Realtor or Redfin or
Right.
whatever. And um, if you don't have access to that, you have to go to those individually.
Yeah.
And some people don't want that. We've had issues as of recent with our Fayetteville listing that we have right now. FEMA says it's not in a floodplain. We've all been to it. It's not in a floodplain.
Yeah.
Not flooding at all. But Redfin and Zillow and those websites are stating that it's in a floodplain. So our client is just super upset because they're misrepresenting it, even though we didn't put it on there. And there's no way to change it. So he's been trying to reach out to these places individually, going, hey, you're misrepresenting my home. I didn't ask you to misrepresent. We gave you the information through the MLS and through FEMA's website.
Was it listed by them first? Is that why it's doing that?
No. It's just they only pull A, B, and C from the MLS and then supply their own stuff through X, Y, and Z
I
to
wonder
verify stuff, which is not accurate.
where are they getting that information? I wonder.
Well, I don't know. There's different names for these other companies, nonprofits, and stuff like that. So our client's pissed.
Yeah, I'm sure. I would
He's
be
not mad at
too.
us. He's just mad
Right.
at.
Well,
It's a
and another
catch-22.
thing is if you list it just on Zillow, like, do you have to pay for that? Like, do you have to pay to list your home on Zillow? And then it's not anywhere else, right?
Well, that's the issue that we have here is him and I had this discussion earlier this week, and we go, well, do we pull it off of the third-party sites, which we can do? I can remove those from there into our MLS.
Right.
And he goes, but then it won't be misrepresented. But I was like, but then it won't be represented at all.
Really? Yeah. Because, I mean, again, people going online, I mean, people can see the MLS, but to see it as an agent with a login is different. Like, you see different things compared to just an everyday person,
Right.
getting the emails or going on and looking. And like you said, like if you search the listing that I have right now, I mean, it comes up on golly, like 20 something different sites because it's different brokerages that have, that option to search and then teams within those brokerages. And then, I mean, like there was a ton of them on there where it all pulled from the MLS. I didn't have to do any of that.
Right. Yeah. It's you want to make sure that you're represented well, and you want to make sure that things aren't going up there. So I think it's like our client and I, we think that it's because of that representation that people are looking at it. Because if I live in California, I don't know what RealTrax is.
Right.
Yeah.
So each state has their own MLS, and then there's multiple usually.
Well, a lot of states have one MLS for the state. Tennessee is one of the rare ones that there are multiple MLSs within the state. So,
okay,
we can drive an hour west or an hour east and be out of our MLS.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's another thing. Like, I was looking at a piece of land for a client, and the listing agent gave me the MLS number. And I'm like over here in RealTrax, and I'm typing it in over and over and over. And I'm typing in the address, and nothing is coming up. Yes. I was like, what is happening? So I called Cassandra, and she was like, that's not our MLS, because of the number thing and how the number started. And I was like, okay, well, I had no idea. So I'm really grateful that I have you, because I would have just like probably contacted her and looked really stupid. And so I reached out and I was like, is this in RealTrax? And she gave me the MLS number, and it was a completely different address. Like, I mean, it was the same location, but it was listed as a street that ended up the road. So I was like, okay, first of all, I don't have access to this east, whatever on earth this is. And second of all, the address is different, which is another thing. There are a lot of things that people are just not aware of. Yeah. I mean, like having to go and search things is not something that I think that you should want to do as a homeowner trying to sell your home. And there are a lot of factors.
The amount of time that we put into listing one home, including, let's just even take out showing. Let's just go, hey, marketing the home on a regular basis and representing it and making sure that it gets through there. Like,
Yeah.
I would have to take 2 weeks off of regular work to do it appropriately.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was saying.
If I didn't have the right tools in front of me, like I had to go source these tools because I didn't have them
Right.
ready to rock and roll on a regular basis.
Yeah, even long before I was a realtor, there was absolutely no way that I wanted any part of doing that on my own ever.
No,
Like,
no,
even
it's just
whenever
the
my mom
easiest
did
thing.
it, I was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, yeah. So it's yeah, it can be terrifying. So we're talking about making sure the house is clean, making sure the house is presentable, good photos. Don't take cell phone photos. And photos aren't horribly expensive when you think about what you get for it. Like our photographers that go out
No.
and take our photos, they just hold the button and it's just rapid fire. They take like 30 photos, stitch them together, and make one super high quality, well lit photo.
Yeah,
And
it's pretty
it's
cool
like
the way
it's
that
not
they do
just
it.
a point and shoot.
And I think it's worth a lot more than what you pay. I mean, obviously, it's important to find a good photographer also.
Agreed.
Um, and I mean, even like uploading the photos to the MLS and like you were talking about, like getting the listing on the MLS, like if an everyday person had access to do that, it would be a mess.
It's a mess already. We have professionals trying
Yeah,
to do it.
that's what I'm saying. Like having to make sure that you're checking all the boxes and that everything is input properly. I mean, God, like there's not enough time in the day to talk about all the details that
No,
you have to have.
no, no, not at all. I'm thinking about too when you list your home. What's the if any? I always tell my clients if anybody tells you that listing your home is going to be fun, they're lying to you
It's
because you know what's going to happen. You're going to get a call from me at 4:30 while you're on your way home from work, and I'm going to tell you, hey, it's 6:30. So and so is going to bring their client through, and they want to look at your home. So what you're going to do is you're going to get home and you're going to skip dinner. And you're going to load the family up and you're going to load the dog up.
yeah.
So you've got all the car seats full. You load the husband up. You guys have been at work all day, and you guys are going to go out, and you're going to be gone from 6:15 to like 7:15 or seven. No, longer than that. 7:45. 15 minutes before showing. 15 minutes after it. Right? Excuse me. I'm just choked up thinking about this. And what's going to happen? They don't show up on time. So now it's 7:45, and they're not there yet. And then 8 o'clock rolls around, and they call you. The listing, your agent calls them and goes, "Hey, yeah, sorry, we're running behind. We're just not going to make it." Meanwhile, you're sitting in a Walmart parking lot watching some guy get his tooth pulled for
And your
$20.
kids are screaming really loud.
Yeah, and you're just wore out. Like listing your house is not fun. So you need somebody that's going to be go to bat for you and make sure. Hey, just want to. If I have a showing at an inopportune time, I'm going to make sure that I call the agent that's bringing their client. And hey, I just want to make sure confirm that we're on. I want to make sure you guys are running on time
Yeah.
and stay on top of them because there are so many times. I mean, so many times people just don't show up to their own showings. Like Cassandra and I are religious about, hey, I'm not going to be there. We need to cancel this showing so that they know.
Yeah, as soon as possible. I mean, like my listing, thankfully they were moved out, so it made it a whole lot easier. But when someone's living in the home, I mean, we had 3 dogs and a child the last time, and I can't imagine doing it with more than 1 kid because trying to get everybody in the car and then, like, my 2 youngest dogs fight. I mean, it's just it's a lot listing your home, and we did the open house, and we had to go and, like, sit at somebody else's house, and we had to have them just put the dogs out back, and, we had crates because, I mean, it was, thankfully it wasn't too cold, but when we listed our house in the winter in Colorado, we had this huge shed, and we had heaters, and we had our dogs in crates because when they had an open house, we had to go to somebody else's house that also has dogs. And we were just sitting there, for hours, and we couldn't bring our dogs. So, I mean, another thing is like asking the right questions, the age of things, making sure that all of the appliances work. I mean, there's just so many things that people don't think about. Oh, they're like, oh, yeah, this is broken. No big deal. When in all actuality, it is a big deal for some people. People may not have the money to replace a dishwasher. People may not have the money to buy a washer and dryer. There are a lot of factors, and people could have allergies, like you were talking about, like the smell. These things need to be vetted. Like, you need to have somebody representing you that knows the right questions.
I walked into a house last year. I swear to you, after I walked into this house, I wanted to punch the listing agent square in the mouth. Not joking. It was in Winchester. My client, we're going around, we're looking at different houses. They wanted something, they wanted a fixer upper. We found this little corner lot. They said, hey, can we go over there and look at it? Sure, yeah, no problems. It was a cute house in the photos. We go over there and there's holes everywhere, and I should have recognized this before we went in. We opened the door. I went in first because it's like an abandoned home.
Yeah.
Fixer upper is
It can be scary.
It's an elevated statement for what this is.
Yeah.
So the house should have been condemned. I walked in the door. They walked in behind me. So the three of us got into the living room, and the three of us turned and walked out of the living room. The smell of mold and ammonia that was in this home physically burnt my lungs.
Yeah.
And I couldn't breathe. My lungs were burnt for 2 weeks. I'm not joking. 2 full weeks burnt like a chemical burn. And I called the agent and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I wouldn't have gone in there with a mask on.
No, there's no way that I would list something like that. I'm not going to put my name on it.
Guess what the listing agent says to me? Oh, I'm sorry, I was unaware of that. I've actually never been in the home. They're a local agent. And you've listed
never been in the home. How did you even know what to list it at?
Mouth.
That's another thing, a huge thing. Price. Oh my word. If you don't know how to do a market analysis and you, first of all, if you're listing your home at all, if you hire a professional, you did that for a reason. So let them do their job. They know, hopefully, most of them, um, if they're doing it right, they know how to do a market analysis, and hopefully they have other agents like us on a team, or other people that are agents that have other agents that they work alongside, even if they're not on a team, and they can be like, hey, what's your opinion on this? Because everybody everybody has different experience, and it's like, okay, do you think that this is right? It's not just you being like, oh, the Zestimate, which is based on a median of all the homes that are around your home, has absolutely takes nothing into account. People go off of that a lot. I mean, I hear it all the time. Or someone will have gotten an appraisal on their own, maybe for a refinance or something, and they're like, this is what they said the home is worth, and they won't listen to you. Don't be that person, because whether you're listing with an agent who doesn't want to make you angry and is like, okay, like, we're going to list at what you want because I don't want to fight you, or you're doing it yourself, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure there.
I always give 3 prices. I'm not an order taker.
Yeah.
If you've asked me for my advice, my job is to advise you,
right?
Let you make your decision.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go, we can go top dollar. The absolute maximum that you could probably list this home for is X. Let's say it's $500,000.
Yeah.
Based upon the comps that I'm pulling, 500 grand. It's probably going to sit because you're going to be the most expensive thing on the market.
Right.
But your house shows better or whatever. If you'd like to, but you're probably not going to get a ton of showings because you're only going to appeal to a very small portion of the market that can afford top of market.
Right.
Now, let's say we list it 475 and go, yeah, we can list it 475. We'll probably have a lot more people coming through here, and maybe we'll get some more interest. I'd rather have 50 people come through in the hopes of having 2 people write me an offer.
Yeah.
Than 2 people come through because I'm overpriced.
Yeah. And I mean, you could get an over asking offer,
You don't have to accept any offer you don't want to accept, even if it's full price.
Yeah, and also your timeline is important as well. If you know what someone comes in and they're like, okay, this is the situation that I'm working with, and I really, really, really need to get out of here. for X, Y, and Z
relocations,
reason.
divorces,
Yeah.
all those. There's a lot of times that time is of the essence, and you want to get the house sold. So maybe we listed a little under, not drastically under, but
Yeah. And
maybe
then
475 turns into 465. 465 to me sounds a whole lot better than 475. I'm not after trying to get the most money out of you. Like
right.
the difference in a commission between 465 and 475, or even 465 and 500
Yeah.
is minimal.
It's not a
Like
lot.
I don't care.
Yeah. It's just, and you have to know what the client needs too.
Yeah.
And be able to say like, okay, this is not reasonable, or this will work out. It's going to be good. And then also you have to think about price reductions if necessary,
Seller concessions.
concessions, closing costs, just all of those things. So
And so I had a conversation with a guy yesterday, and he was talking about this, the new NAR rules and things like that that have come into effect in 2024. And he's like, well, how does that work now? And I was like, well, technically in our listing agreement, we just separate out the listing agent's commissions and the buyer's agent commissions. If you're offering buyer's agent's commissions,
right,
we won't take a listing unless there's buyer agent representation.
exactly.
Now you don't have to give it to them if they don't have an agent. I don't have to advertise it. I can't advertise it
Right.
in the MLS.
Yeah.
So how we instruct them. So let's say, for example, we're going to take 3%. We're suggesting you offer 3% to the listing agent or to the buyer's agent. And somebody calls us and goes, hey, are you offering buyer's rep compensation? We're going to go look at this house, so on and so forth. Yes, we're offering buyer's rep compensation. We're not disclosing how much, but yes, we're open to entertaining it. And if you decide to submit an offer, please submit that with your offer. Now, if we're able to negotiate something where there is no buyer's rep, that compensation paid by the sellers, because Sandra and I don't take that.
Right.
That money just goes back into our seller's pocket.
Yeah.
So our compensation is completely separate than that, versus before it was together. So it would have been 6%, and we would have offered 3% to the buyer's rep.
Yeah.
But we would have had the right to keep that, which I agree with that new movement, and agents shouldn't be greedy. Our goal is just to get the job done for the client at a reasonable price and a reasonable time frame.
Yeah, like you have fiduciary duties to them, so you don't need to be lying, deceitful.
No.
It's not going to get you anywhere.
No, I will tell you, a lot of buyers that come to the table do need compensation for their agent. They can't pay it out of pocket.
Yeah.
They're putting X number of dollars down, or they don't have any money down. It's just very common. There's assistant programs and stuff like that,
Right.
state and federal, that will help them get a home with zero money down, but they don't have the money in addition to the money they don't have for the down payment to pay an agent. So
yeah.
So they would need that. So be aware of that when listing your home as well. So
also, last but not least,
but wait, there's more.
When you list at a certain price, that's obviously not the amount that you're taking. And you can't even say, oh, well, I owe this much. I'm going to make this much. And the difference is what I get to take home, because also, no, most of the time, that's not accurate. And you need somebody who's a professional who can look at the numbers and tell you. And by the way, you can pay someone to be a facilitator, if you're not aware of that, and just do the paperwork and make sure that you're following the law. Even if you're like responsible for photos still yourself, the agent is making sure that you are doing the right thing, following all the rules and regulations, and your paperwork is accurate and complete, and you are in compliance. So that is a thing if you need just that. But
can you imagine selling a home without the proper paperwork?
Yeah,
and buying a home without the proper paperwork?
Yeah.
And then 5 years from now, Joe homeowner decides, I want it back.
Yeah.
And they didn't do X, Y, and Z, and they hire a lawyer and they take it back from you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that even comes down to the closing company that you use, the title company. So there's just a lot of things. Like I said, I could talk about it all day, that you learn as you go. And
don't hide things.
oh yeah.
Don't pay
Oh my
for water
God.
damage. That the water damage hasn't been repaired.
Yeah, don't hang a picture over a hole.
No. Sweep
And
stuff under the rug.
if you do have something that you can get repaired, make sure that it's presentable on the outside as well, just because things can scare people away.
Yeah. Pink walls can't scare people away, apparently.
I don't make the rules.
Yeah. Jordan and her recent Barbie classes out. So, well, Jordan, hey, I appreciate having you on today. It's been a lot of fun. I know we can talk forever about this, but hopefully that gives you guys a little insight into listing your home and some of the daily stuff that we go through as professional agents here in Tennessee. I'll make sure Jordan's contact information is in the description below. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, hit the notification button, and yeah, we appreciate you all. And if you have any questions about listing your home, uh, advice is always free. Pick up the phone, give us a call, shoot us a text, comment below. We'll answer.
Yep.
Take care, guys. Hope you guys have a great week.
Bye.
Bye. Can't take me anywhere. Whose kids are these?